Hello. I just realized that there might be some people who have subscribed to my channel recently, maybe within the last 3 months, and have never seen me don the glasses and the robe. Here's what the glasses and the robe means if you don't know, if you're new. It means I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to mess around. Antonio Pierce is still the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. If you saw my last podcast or if you saw my most recent video, I told you my 5 head coaching candidates to coach the team next year, and Antonio Pierce was 3rd on that list. Vrabel 1, Johnson 2. It looks like they're going to roll with Antonio Pierce. And we're going to get into the insanity that was this most recent press conference that he just had. And we're going to get into what I thought about the Charger game. We're going to get into all that. What I need you to do, first of all, my name is Rodney. Thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. What I need you to do is subscribe to the channel. The season for us might be over, but the season has really just begun. Because when you're in a team, or when you have a team that's in flux like we are, this is where rubber meets the road. I'm going to talk about the game. I'm going to talk about the press conference. I'm going to talk about the quarterback position. Hit that like button, comment away, and subscribe. Antonio Pierce just had a press conference for the ages. Now, there was a part of me that wanted to come on here and go, well, if they keep Antonio Pierce, these are all the reasons why I think it makes sense. All the injuries and the quarterback position and blah, 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 blah. I don't feel like being the talk you off the ledge guy today. Forgive me. My team just wasted another year of my life. I'm sure a week from now, I'll have to talk myself off the ledge and then talk everybody else off the ledge. And I guess I tried to do that initially by saying Antonio Pierce is my 3rd option. However, I think I said that assuming he would not be coaching the team. And he's still coaching the team. I've seen people say that, there are still deliberations to be had. I don't think you have Antonio Pierce do a press conference like he just did, assuming you're going to fire him. Now, maybe Telesco, or forget about Tom Telesco for a second, because I got a lot to say about him after this press conference. Maybe Mark Davis and Tom Brady. Just realized I might have been a little too low. Mark Davis and Tom Brady still need to discuss AP's future. Maybe Mark Davis wants to see how the Patriots interview with Vrabel goes. I don't know. All I know is this. Antonio Pierce in that press conference conducted himself like I thought he would be conducting himself and coaching the whole year. Like he conducted himself and coached in 2023 when he said he listened to his gut. And that was the first time I think I saw the real Antonio Pierce all season. And that doesn't mean I'm like, yay, now the real Antonio Pierce can coach in 2025. I'm upset because I'm like, dude, where was this? He told us exactly how he was feeling. And he's like, AP, don't mince words. You do. You've done it the whole season, especially with what you've said about going with your gut. And do I want to lead with that? Yeah, I guess I do. So Antonio Pierce, maybe last week sometime, was asked, what did you learn most about yourself this season? And he said, I just need to go with my gut. And a lot of people were like, ooh, what do you mean by that? Some of us had a decent idea, but we weren't sure. And, there was this theory that Antonio Pierce wanted to start Aiden O'Connell, and he was talked out of it by whoever. Telesco, Mark Davis, Luke Getsy, I don't know. Talked out of it, deferred to his coaches, deferred to his staff, wanted to make sure that he wasn't this rah-rah CEO right out of the gate, whatever. Even though that's the reason he got the job. Think back to his introductory press conference as the interim with Champ Kelly. The second they asked about the quarterback, he goes, we're going with Aiden. He gives us the best chance to win. He went with his gut, and it won him the job. So this press conference is happening, And they ask him, have you heard anything about your job security? He goes, nope, business as usual. Only noise I hear is from the outside. I haven't been told anything, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, yesterday he's hitting us with no comment, because he's upset that we just lost the game, whatever. And I thought that he threw Aiden under the bus in the Charger press conference because he was like, we clearly have a glaring need out there. Talking about quarterback, right? Okay, whatever. Not great for your head coach to do that, but whatever. Gerard Mayo just got fired for doing stuff similarly, but no, we don't fire Antonio Pierce. Okay, sure. So somebody asks him, how do you reflect on this season? He goes, that's a good question. And then he basically answers it the same way he answered the Charger question, or not the Charger question, the question in the press conference a couple days before the Charger one about what would you do differently. And he said, I would just go with my gut. I'd go with my gut like I did in 2023. And I'm watching this thing like somebody ask him, what does he mean by that? Please. The last reporter, I don't know who that was, and I don't mean to take a shot at anyone, but it was the last question we could ask Antonio Pierce, maybe before he's fired or maybe before we see him again. And they ask him, how do you feel about your son being on the staff? Nobody gives a shit about his son being on the staff. Ask a real question. So he says, go with my gut again. And Vinny Bonsignor, finally, a reporter with some balls, steps up and says, Antonio Pierce, Coach Pierce, AP, whatever he called him, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you say go with your gut, does that have anything to do with the quarterback position? And Antonio Pierce goes, yep. And then Vinny follows up and goes, Antonio, are we to assume that means that you wish you would have started Aiden O'Connell instead of Gardner Minshew? Antonio Pierce goes, yep. So that theory that he was, here we go again, talked off the ledge of starting Aiden O'Connell instead of Gardner Minshew is true. He was apparently outvoted by people on the staff. Luke Getsy has to be one of them because he was out of there fast. And now I have to believe that it was Tom Telesco as well. Because if Luke Getsy wants to start Minshew and Antonio Pierce wants to start Aiden, then you start Aiden. But if the GM comes in and goes, nope, we paid this guy $15 million, this is the way to go. And AP doesn't want to be an asshole, and he goes, okay. And he starts Minshew, and that was the wrong move. Well, you could fire Getsy. You can't fire Tom Telesco if you're Antonio Pierce. Obviously, Mark Davis can do whatever he wants. So Antonio Pierce confirmed what we all were thinking might have been the case. Now, I am still angry that Antonio Pierce seemingly didn't fight harder for Aiden O'Connell to start. And ultimately, would we have made the playoffs? Probably not. Doesn't matter. But it wouldn't have been the season from hell. Every time Minshew stepped on that field, we had no chance. And the him and Getsy combination was horrific. And Antonio Pierce seems to not give a shit anymore. Because he tried to play nice, and he tried to play the CEO nice guy head coach with his staff, and that got us 4 wins. It probably got us 2 wins. And then he had to change it all up and go back to the 2023 AP. So look, am I happy that we kept him? Not particularly, no. Maybe he will still get fired. I don't know. I don't root for people to get fired. I'm rooting for Antonio Pierce. Am I at least content with the idea that he's now unhinged 2023 interim AP? This is my team. I'm going to run it the way I want to. Yeah. But for us as fans to have to sit through a whole year of AP being afraid to do what he wants to do, that's a slap in the face. And I don't really know who to blame. Tom Telesco, Mark Davis, AP, all of them. If you're going to coach the team the way you think you should coach it. Now, they asked him, all right, you're still the head coach. What are we doing with the staff? Are we making any changes? And he said, no, we're not making any changes. So if you take that at face value, Patrick Graham has to, sign another extension, which he didn't sign one in this last offseason. I don't know if he's waiting to see what happens with AP. If we bring back Patrick Graham, our defense will be top 10, top 5, if we have everybody healthy. That also would mean that we're going to keep the Turners. as the offensive coordinators. And I'm going to say that they're both coordinating the offense. Now, there are rumors that Bill Belichick wants to poach him being Scott Turner, and bring him to North Carolina. If that happens, we're going to have to go get a Clint Kubiak or a Josh McCown, like I said. I don't hate running it back with Scott Turner. He was clearly far and away better than Luke Getsy, and the offense improved a lot. But he, again, had to coach a lot of games with Gardner Minshew. You can't do anything with Gardner Minshew with no running backs. So we got to shore up that running back room, and we got to improve at quarterback. Whether that's sign someone, trade for someone, draft someone, or see significant leaps from Aiden O'Connell in the offseason. Because we saw a little bit of growth, but not enough growth for him to be the franchise guy. And we'll talk about his performance in the Charger game in a second here. But as of right now, it looks like Antonio Pierce is still the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And if that is the case, that tells me that Mark Davis and Tom Brady right now think Vrabel to the Patriots is a foregone conclusion. They don't think Ben Johnson's going to take an interview, and there's nobody else out there worth the risk of starting it again and again and again. And there are ways and there are avenues to convince me that Antonio Pierce deserves another shot. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a video. But as someone who made a video talking about how he believed in Antonio Pierce because of what we saw in 2023 and how he's going to be one of the next great coaches of the Las Vegas Raiders, and then for him to come out and say, I wish I just did what I did in 2023, is, like I said before, a slap in the face to us who all put our reputations on the line and backed this guy and supported this guy. Now, in 2025, if we see improvements and we see the AP that we saw in 2023, okay, whatever. Maybe this year was worth it to get a good draft pick and to develop a lot of young guys. We have the youngest roster in the league. That's a pro AP point in terms of keeping him, in terms of the record. We have the youngest roster in the league. But I am tired of being the spin doctor for every mediocre and bad decision this team makes. I even did it with Gardner Minshew. Well, Gardner Minshew won 9 games. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm now going to be hypercritical of every single thing this organization does that doesn't fall in line with what I think is the right thing to do until we see results. If they keep the same staff, I'm going to be hypercritical of the Turners. I'm going to be hypercritical of everything AP does. And Tom Telesco, now that I know that he probably was part of the brain trust pressuring AP to start Gardner Minshew. Because you could have all the good draft picks you want, but if you make that shitty decision again, I'm going to come for your head. And Raider Nation is going to come for your head. I'm tired of being the spin doctor. And I had a whole day to sit and think about this, and I'm still feeling like this. Because when you play the Chargers like that, right? Aiden O'Connell comes out guns blazing, and this is the number one scoring defense. And he made some good throws in that game, but then he threw a bad ball. And some people want to say, oh, it was on Madison. Stop. That was a bad ball by Aiden O'Connell. Alexander Madison sat it down, and there was like 2 seconds between the time that he thought about throwing it and the time that he threw it. He panics in the pocket sometimes, and he makes bad decisions when there's pressure because you can't scramble out of there. So there's an upgrade to be made at quarterback, whether that's him getting significantly better or us drafting somebody. Now, there was another mock draft that said, we're going to take Drew Aller. And it said, we don't know if he's going to come out, blah, 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 blah. If Drew Aller's available and he's the third quarterback that falls to us, oh my God, we need to take him and start him immediately. And the silver lining with keeping AP is if he's as bad as a lot of people say, and he's as bad as some of us are afraid that he is. Now, he could change our mind. He can go back to 2023. He can get better. These are all things that are up in the air. If he's truly this bad and he gets fired halfway through next season, we have a path to Arch Manning. And I know it's going to be another year of nonsense. But if it leads to Arch Manning, then it leads to Arch Manning. And I've seen the Dan Campbell Blueprint. Dan Campbell started 3-13 and then blah, 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 blah. The difference is we saw what it looks like when AP is a good coach in 2023. Dan Campbell, we never saw that. We saw Dan Campbell bad. His team was bad. He was bad and got progressively better. What we've seen from AP is good, go with your gut AP, and then 2024 AP is like Adam Gase. He's soft and he's afraid. He's Rocky 3 Rocky on the beach. I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid. That was Antonio Pierce. I think for the first time in his life, he was afraid to make the wrong decision. And maybe he already had a talk with Mark Davis and Brady. And maybe he explained, like, look, this season was on me. I should have went with Aiden. We should have been in the 7 to 10 win range. But from now on, I'm coaching this team the way I'm going to coach it. I'm on the last year of my contract. I'm gonna play it out contract type deal. And if you think I should be extended based off of what happens next year, then let's do it. But the players played hard for him. There's no doubt about it. Even yesterday, they were playing as hard as they could. They just aren't that good of a roster compared to the Chargers roster. And Antonio Pierce is not in the same stratosphere of coach as Jim Harbaugh. That's just a fact. And when you look up at the division, you've got Reed and Mahomes, you've got Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and you've got Harbaugh and Herbert. Antonio Pierce, Aiden O'Connell doesn't feel like it's going to compete with those other three combinations. We'll see what happens in the draft, in the offseason, free agency. But for right now, it looks like AP, they're running it back with at least AP. And Aiden will be on the roster in some capacity, whether it's a backup, a bridge starter, or whatever. But you've got to find a way to upgrade this quarterback position by any means necessary. Especially if AP wants to keep this job, you got to win. If AP wants to keep this job next year, you got to win bare minimum 7 games. I would say bare minimum 8 games. You got to win 8 games next year to even have me think about giving you an extension moving forward. I need to see significant improvement, like double up the win total, because we have a last place schedule. If you look at our schedule, we play some bad football teams next year. You got to double up the win total, bro. If you think you can do that with Aiden, do it with Aiden. If you can get Drew Aller's parents on the phone and say, you need to come out because we're taking you at 6. If you don't go 1 or 2, we're taking you at 6. Then get it done. If you need to sign Sam Darnold, trade for Stafford, get it done. Get it done. Get somebody in here who can be dynamic on the football field. Or hope that Aiden improves. Now, an interesting tidbit to sort of calm down a little is that he said he really liked what he did with the team in training camp at Costa Mesa, but he thinks along the way they maybe weren't conditioned enough to be prepared for the potential injury scares that we've had. And go down the list of injuries, especially on defense. It was an absolute nightmare. So he said he's going to talk to the medical staff and make sure we have the best programs in place to keep these guys from getting injured, which is a big plus. We could have a top 5 defense if everybody stays healthy, especially Kuntz and Wilkins. We'll see who they re-sign in the offseason. I don't think Spillane is going to go anywhere. I don't think Merrick is going to go anywhere. Epps is, I don't know. Hobbs is, I don't know. They're both just, they get hurt. It is what it is. But this defense can be top 5. It comes down to Telesco and AP being on the same page about what we're doing with this offense. Because in that Charger game, we couldn't run the football. And when you're one-dimensional with a quarterback who cannot really scramble, and you've got Bosa and Mack pitting their ears, you have no chance. 0 chance. Aiden made some good throws. He showed some things. He did improve slightly. I think his ceiling is probably bridge starter backup. And that's okay. For a 4th-round quarterback, he's got 17 games under his belt. That's okay. I wish he had this whole season to see what we can do. But I do think he's bridge starter material, backup more likely, and that's okay. That's okay. Jacoby Myers, 90-ish catches, or 85 catches, 1,000 yards. Love that guy. Keep him on the roster as long as he wants to stay on. He's a fringe number 1. Number 2, let's get a number 1 in here, T. Higgins, or redraft someone. And Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the league, no question. Should he be Rookie of the Year? Maybe. Probably. I think they're going to give it to Jaden Daniels. I don't have any issue with giving it to Jaden Daniels. If the Commanders didn't make the playoffs, but he had a good year, I'd be mad. But they made the playoffs. They're a higher seed than the Packers. So I'm okay with, Jaden Daniels getting the Rookie of the Year award, although Brock Bowers is the focal point of the offense for the foreseeable future. And all the players in the locker room had really good things to say about AP. Like, the players do like him. And I do think maybe they knew that he was outvoted with the whole Aiden Minshew thing. And they're saying all the right things, but they knew deep down that he was not the guy. I'll tell you what, Gardner Minshew's not going to be on this roster next year the way AP's talking about him in this press conference. I cannot believe he said out loud, yep, wishes to start at Aiden. It is comforting to know that he was on the same page as us there, but it's also devastating to know that that could have been the season and you just didn't go with your gut. But, you know, I'm recording this with my phone. I'm not getting any updates. I'm assuming that he's not just fired and this whole thing is a wash of a podcast. That would be pretty funny. But look, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Comment away. Our season has just begun. Our season has just begun. Drop likes, drop comments. Link in the description below for the Discord. That's free. Link in the description below for Patreon. You get your name at the end of the credits. You get exclusive content. You get ad-free content. You get videos like this days in advance. This is a little bit of a shorter one, but this was just kind of post-press conference, post-season me. Around the NFL, should I do Super Bowl prediction? It feels like Lions, Bills, two teams that, in my opinion, are pretty easy to root for. If the Chiefs make it back to the Super Bowl and win, I don't know what I'm going to do. Please be sure to subscribe. It's free after, no charge to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. See, so now I'm going to take the sunglasses off and the robe off and then do a thumbnail. And then you're going to be like, okay, just another video. And then when you start the video, you're going to see me sit down with the robe and the glasses and be like, whoa! Sort of an M. Night Shyamalan twist for you. So now I throw this over here. And now I do the thumbnail. What else could I do? One of those.